Hey, what's up, creators? This is your old buddy John, and you have once again found the Sketch Magazine podcast. I am here, as always, with the editor of Sketch, Bill Nichols, the publisher of Sketch, Bob Hickey, and today we are going to talk about conventions. But first, how you doing tonight, guys?
Hey John, this is Bill. Doing great.
Hey, doing good, John. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right. And so, conventions. There are a bunch of them coming up this year. I'm not sure about you two, but I think I'm committed to about 24 of these bad boys this year. So
Wow.
that's a pretty big commitment on my part anyway. Um, if you want, I can go through the entire at least the entire list as it affects the local community.
Right.
Anyway, I can go through the entire list, or we can just talk about what conventions you guys think you might be hitting this year.
Well, yeah. I mean, we can hit on the ones that you think are relevant to everybody.
Okay,
You know.
cool. I can definitely do that. Well, the first one coming up in a very short amount of time, uh, and the name is going to sound like a joke, but it actually isn't. It's called DanCon. It's in Orlando Park, Illinois, and that's coming up on the 20th. Now, there's a little backstory to this. One of the contributors to Comic Related is named Decapitated Dan.
Mm-hmm.
He does a lot of stuff with the horror genre. So a lot of people have been telling him that he should start up a convention. Well, he actually took that idea and ran with it. So he's going to have a one-day convention up there in Illinois. I'm not quite sure where Orlando Park is, but he's going to have a lot of horror luminaries, a lot of creators up there that deal with the horror genre.
I saw the poster on comicrelated.com.
Yes, you did. And I said, we all thought at first that it was a joke. We're like, surely not, because way back in the day, we called another convention named after, we nicknamed it after another one of the contributors because it was him and some other people.
Mm-hmm.
And we thought that this was just, that sort of joke. But it turns out it's a real, indeed convention. Then after that one, and this is one we were at last year for the first time, and we really enjoyed it. C2E2.
I'm doing that one this year.
And it, sadly, I'm not. I'll be at the next convention that I'm going to mention.
Yeah.
But I do know that Chuck is going to be there, and a few other folks
I don't
are going to
think
be there.
Chuck will be there.
Actually, he is going to be there now.
Okay, so he's not doing the Furry Con that weekend?
No. The Furry Con got shot down.
Okay.
The folks at C2E2 were a bit taken aback that he wasn't going to be there.
Oh, okay.
They really want him there because they are Chuck and the people that run C2E2 and the New York Con have kind of created a relationship, a mutually beneficial advertising relationship, and they really wanted him there.
Uh-huh.
So he is definitely going to be at C2E2 this year.
Good.
Which is March 18th, 19th, and 20th for
yes.
people who didn't know that one. After that's the one I'm going to be at, unless one of our other partners manages to get well and be there that weekend. I'm going to be at Space, which is the Small Press and Alternative Comics Expo. That one's in Columbus, Ohio. Runs just the Saturday and Sunday of that weekend, March 19th and 20th.
Right.
Space is a really good show for indie creators. It's a smaller show. It's a lot of folks who do the much smaller kind of comic, the little hand, barely the size of a match
mini comics.
Packet. Mini comics, thank you. Do mini comics, do a lot of the smaller press sort of things. The things that you really think of when you think small press.
Yeah, there's some regular size comics and stuff there too.
A lot of
that's
times true. There's regular size
circulation. They don't have a wide circulation or readership. I did it 2 years ago, and I think it was 2 or 3 years before. Oh no, it was more than that before I done it earlier. Um, it's a fun show.
Yeah, it's really a social show
It
a lot.
is.
You get to talk to and see a lot of other people who are pretty much in the same boat you are as far as creating a book and dealing with distribution issues and things. So it's really kind of a hang out, meet people, commiserate, cathartic sort of show, rather than like a C2E2 where it's just kind of run and gun the entire weekend.
Right. I think the biggest problem I have with that is I haven't been. It moved to a new venue last year.
Yeah, I
And
heard.
I didn't see that. I wasn't at that one. But the biggest thing is it doesn't have much as far as drawing in people from the outside.
Right.
And that's, anytime you do a show, you want to try have an opportunity to build new readers. And I think that's the one thing that Space is lacking. I think it's a wonderful, wonderful show, especially for new creators, early creators, small press creators. But it doesn't offer them the opportunity to really show their works to people outside of their community. And he's up there in Columbus with this show, and I'd just like to see him draw in more people. And I don't know what it's going to take as far as advertising or promotions or what to get more people to walk in through the front door. But I think if he could ever fix that end of it and get more people through the front door, he's got him a great little show on his hands. A great show.
Oh yeah.
And Bob Corby, he puts a lot of work into this show. A lot of work. They bust their tail off on this show. But yeah, I just like to see him. I like to see him get the people walking through the door. That way, everybody sitting behind the table would be benefiting more from it. I had planned on doing it this year, but when it landed on the same weekend as C2E2, I had to take Blue Line to C2E2. So
Yeah, that made a lot of people sad. I think that things couldn't get worked out where those could be split up a little more,
right,
because there tends to be a lot of people who C2E2 is a money show.
oh yeah,
C2E2 is a show where you go and that's where you pay the bills. Hopefully.
mm-hmm.
Space not so much.
Right,
Space, you generally end up trading your book to other creators for their book.
right.
So it gets to be a different sort of thing. But like I said, I'll be there, and I'll be doing interviews unless one of our fellow creators manages to get his health together, because he likes space a great deal. And if that turns out, I will probably be hopping on the C2E2 wagon.
Okay.
But beyond that, the next one that's local is Gem City, which is April 3rd. Gem City is it's a fun little one-day show.
Mm-hmm.
That I think a lot of people enjoy. They generally get a really good crowd, a really interesting mix of creators and vendors. So, and it's up in Dayton, Ohio, so it's not far off from where we are.
Right, right.
So,
Is it still on that campus?
I believe so.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, we
it's
went.
probably in that same campus.
I was up there last year. Yeah, it's an interesting little show.
Yeah, it's a nice little show. It's not, it's not huge or anything like that, but it's kind of one of those shows that we go to out of, we've gone to it for so long, we just keep going to it more
Right.
than anything else.
Well, you guys know the promoters through comic related.
Yeah,
Hmm?
yeah, we definitely know those guys well. One that may not interest a lot of people, but it's a nice little genre show that's coming up, and one of the guys who is now on Zone 4, Ron Fortier, guy that's been around comics for many, many years, goes to the Windy City Pulp and Paper Con.
Wow.
He's a big pulp guy, and that's up in Lombard, Illinois, on April 15th, 16th, and 17th. From what I understand, it's a fairly new show, but it's a really big deal show.
Wow, really?
So if anybody has a big interest in pulp, you might check that out. Now beyond that, well, has nothing to do with creators, but since we are podcasting right now, this is a podcasting show.
Oh,
It's
cool.
called the Super Show. It's called the Super Show, done by the guys who do Indie Spinner Rack.
Right.
So it's a huge, huge show for podcasters and things like that. So maybe someday this sketch podcast will be up there. But let's see. Beyond that, there is Free Comic Book Day on May 1st.
Yeah, where are we going to do that at?
I don't know. We'll have to figure that one out.
That'll be new for us here.
Yeah,
This is the first time I haven't had to run a store and an event in 7 years. So
yeah, that'll be interesting. We'll go hang out somewhere.
Yeah, I'm sure we will.
We'll have to find some comic store to go hang out in that day. Beyond that is Heroes Con, which Heroes is always a lot of fun if you can get there.
Shelton's great promoter. He's been doing that show for a long time. I really enjoy that show. I'm hoping to be able to take the family myself to it this year. Still got to work out the arrangements and everything with Shelton, but yeah, it's a great show. It's a very art friendly / comic friendly show.
Right.
You just feel like that they're there for comics. That's what it's about, and that's fun. Where C2E2, it's about the entertainment. However, wherever, that show is big, but it's about the comics. So, sorry.
Yeah.
Cut you off.
No, that's fun. No, that was completely fun. Yeah. Of all the shows I've been to, nothing to do with the show, but I had the worst drive to Heroes 2 years ago. But I had the greatest time at Heroes of any con last year.
Okay.
It was really, everything was really cool from the drive because, I navigated. And because, the whole weekend was just fantastic. So I definitely suggest to people if they want to go to a great show, head to Heroes. Now, a new con in my part of the world, Derby City Con, is July 16th. Don't know much about it yet. There's a lot going on there, apparently. They're building their schedule every day, and there's more going on. So that might end up being a big deal, but we'll have to see. It's not at all local, but you almost have to mention San Diego Comic-Con.
Right.
Running from the 21st through the 24th. We're definitely going to be there. Comic related. It's definitely going to be there.
Great.
I have said if I had to put a saddle on my dog and ride him out there, I'm going this year. So I will definitely be there. Beyond that, there's some really good shows, but they're not quite local. There's Baltimore, which is a great show, Dragon Con. The next one beyond that would be Champion City Con, which is another small show, but a really good one, put on by friends of Comic Related. And that one's September 10th. Then beyond that, the Cincinnati Comic Expo, which is September 17th, and that was a real big surprise show.
It was. It really was.
About how good it was. Yeah, about how great everything was in that show. Let's see. Beyond that's Detroit, which is,
what is Detroit?
Put on. Detroit is September 24th. Detroit Fan Fair is the 24th, 25th.
I did the first one of that. It was a really good show. They're moving it to another hall already on the second time. They had a lot of people, had a lot of creators. So, and there again, it was about comics and selling comics and the artist. And, there's a couple things I suggested they really do different. But all in all, it was a really, really good show. Good weekend.
Yeah, I really wanted to go to that. I'm definitely going to make it this year. So, it's still this year. I'm definitely going to make it this year. Beyond that, not quite local, but still definitely a con people should check out if they get a chance is New York Comic Con.
Yeah.
And that's 14th, 15th, and 16th. Put on by the same guys who do C2E2.
Yep.
And
That.
I've never been there
Oh
myself,
my
but
gosh.
it's a great show. From everything I've heard, Chuck Moore has been up there twice
Yeah,
already.
Bill Love and I was up there this last year,
Oh, that's
and
true. You were, weren't
yeah,
you?
we spent the weekend up there and just checking it out. Didn't set up with anybody or anything. Just checked it out and spent time making a lot of connections. And actually, Eric Adams set up there in Artist Alley for the first time. It is huge, huge amount of people, unbelievable amount of people. I heard people say that the comic people did what lawyers, doctors, and everything else has never been able to do, which is sell out that convention center. It was packed. There was unbelievable amount of people there. So it's a great show if you can wade through it and you want to spend the day seeing some great stuff. It is well worth going if you're in that area. I would definitely try to make it back this year. I'm not too sure how we're going to set up. I said if I could get an artist alley, I'd probably just set up an artist table and not go the whole big booth setup, but we'll see.
Right. And then after that, kind of the last comic show for the year for most of us would be Mid Ohio, which is October 22nd and 23rd.
Right.
Another semi-local show, being in Columbus, Ohio. A show I've been to a couple of times. Always had a good time at. So check it out, and that's about it. I skipped a few that didn't really have to do with comics, but that's kind of the range of shows that I'll be at least this year. So quite a few.
And you're going to be set up mostly with comic related, correct?
Correct. Yeah, mostly with comic related at all those shows. There are a few we may just be backpacking it, but for the most part, I think we'll have tables at pretty much every show I mentioned.
Right. So, Bill, you've been quiet.
Well, John's going through the list of shows he's going to be at.
Sounds like John's going to be busy.
I'm going to be very busy, sadly. Well, not sadly, actually. It's fun for me to do this, but it is going to be a big time commitment.
Yes, it is. Talking almost every other weekend you're gone.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
I pretty much told the wife, don't expect to see me much starting in March. But there've been, well, we've all been to cons at one time or another, and there's been great con experiences. There's been bad ones. So for people who've never been to a con before, maybe we should kind of let them know, give them the ups and downs of going to a con. Who wants to run with that? Because I've talked a lot and I need to sip a drink first.
Well, gee, who's been to a lot of shows?
You, Bill.
Not so much anymore.
All right.
Back in the day.
Back in the day when they made shows out of cave walls.
That's right.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of shows. I started Blue Line out of a trunk of a car. We would show up at conventions like one-day shows. And you could find one-day shows. That's where I met you, Bill.
Yep.
You could find them all over the place at that point in time. And we would load up trunk of a car and hit the convention with paper and handful of art supplies and set up at them. And John, you think 20-something shows? We were averaging 30, 35, close to 40 shows a year.
That's incredible.
Those first couple, my wife truly did not see me much. The first couple years we did Blue Line, and it started like almost immediately after I got married too. I think we got married in October, and the first weekend of November is when they used to have the Mid Ohio Con that was up in Mansfield.
Right.
And that pretty much kicked off what we were doing at that point in time. So, yeah, I've done a lot of shows, done a lot of ups, a lot of downs. If you're going as a fan, you need to pick a show and an investment, because a show is an investment. It's like going to movies, but you're going to invest a lot more money. And you need to be careful on the show you pick to go to, and sort of pick out what you're trying to achieve. Like you said, Ron, he's into the pulps and the stuff like that, and I'm sure he'll have a blast at that show. And So as a creator and as a fan, you need to be careful. Careful where you spend your money because you want to make sure you get your entertainment value. You want to if you want to see the big guys, and it's definitely C2E2. Wizard World still pulls on a good show. Lots and lots of merchandising at Wizard World, Chicago. Um,
Yeah.
I tell you a good show, John. We just did not too long ago was Wizard World Atlanta.
Yeah, that was a great show,
I'm
and
I think I'll go back this coming year. If they,
yeah, I think we will too.
yeah,
I'm surprised it's not on the list
that
somewhere.
that was a lot of fun. And
I don't think we know a date yet.
yeah,
That's probably why that's not on the
I don't think
list.
they have set the date yet, but they have the
Yeah.
same center. I liked it, and that's what's big for me as a creator going in who's got to spend 3 or 4 days in this area. I'm looking at where I'm going to be, what the setup's going to be like, because usually we're pulling a big truck or a trailer, and it's like, okay, is it easy in, easy out? Do you have to do a lot of crap to get to it? Is it a pain to park the trailer or whatever? I liked Atlanta. Atlanta was right off the expressway once we actually found the place. Um, I liked it. There's plenty of places to eat for us to eat. It was like all real convenient. And I'm a big guy. Once I unload, park my car, I'm done for the weekend. I don't want to have to drive all over the place. You're tired. You've done the show all day. You want to go eat and relax, and spend time with friends. So um,
Yeah, very much.
that was a good show. Haven't done C2E2. I know. Well, actually, they just billed us for our rooms today. So
Right.
I know we're going to be there. It had originally set up that Skystorm was going to set up with comic related.
I think that's still happening.
Okay, I need to.
Yeah.
I'll probably be talking to Chuck this weekend.
Yes, you need to. You need to, but I think that's still the plan.
Okay, Blue Line's going to be there. It's got a corner booth right in front, down in front of Artist Alley. So we'll be 2 locations hopefully. But when you go as a creator, you've got to really look at how much you want to invest into setting up at the con. And you got to make sure if you're looking to exposure only, make sure you got enough stuff to give away. With your name, your website, your imagery on it. You're looking to make money, then you got to look at the show and look at what kind of merchandise can move at that show. Because every show has its fan base. And depending on the show, what kind of fan base, can you sell a lot of comics there? Are you more likely to sell buttons and trading cards there? T-shirts, what could possibly? And the thing is, you really don't know unless you sort of got to make friends with people who's out there doing shows and sort of find out from them what they're moving, what's selling for them. Well, that helps if you can do that. So you gotta be careful doing shows. You invest a lot of money into them. And there used to be the days. I mean, I remember shows that we walk out of Wizard World Chicago and Blue Line make $25,000. Those were great shows, non-stop shows. It doesn't happen anymore.
I was really surprised to see C2E2 this last year about how they had this huge web comic section,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't put back, way back in the Artist Alley. It was right there, kind of center stage, almost behind the Marvel setup. There was several rows of mini comics, or not mini comics, but web comics creators, and with these great setups, I came across several really good web comics that I had never heard of before. That were completely alien to me, but they were fantastic. Of course, Laura Innes of the Dreamer was there.
Right.
We all know her, but there were several others that I was extremely impressed by, and I was really impressed by how they had set that up. And C2E2 was set up really well.
Mm-hmm.
We've all been to cons where the setup is just horrendous, especially for Artist Alley.
Yeah.
Our Artist Alley is sometimes lucky if it's even in the same building. let alone put somewhere where someone can find it. But the way this was set up was really great. They had the big guys up front, of course, with their big, massive displays. Uh, but they had that nice peppering of not only the webcomics people, but they had the podcasting people in a certain spot, and the vendors were all off to the left of the thing,
Huh.
and then the entire back area was the artist alley.
Right.
The entire width of the show and the entire back area was all artist alley, and then they were smart enough to put all the signing things behind that.
Really?
Yeah, so
Wow.
when people had to line up to sign, they lined up on the far right hand side, and they weren't bugging anybody.
Right.
The only thing that they were standing in front of that people needed to get to were the bathrooms.
That's cool.
They weren't blocking anybody's table, they weren't bugging anybody's sales or anything like that. It was a really, really good setup. I was really impressed. So more shows should definitely do that, because there's been a couple of times that that tables I've been at have been victim of the blind
Oh,
people
yeah.
standing in front of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's just not only a sales killer, but it's a mood killer,
Oh, yeah.
because you want to get angry and you want to go yell, but you know
Well,
the
the cool thing is that if you can, it sounds like they're trying to attract people by the artist alley people to get back to the signings. So that's like running the crowd past you, which is good. You want that.
yeah.
Um, so no, that's pretty smart on their end. I know San Diego, they have a whole other building almost where they do major signings. It's not even
Right.
on the main floor, or it used to be. I haven't been past couple years. Um, but I don't remember New York. I don't remember how the big signings were set up. It's so massive in so many areas. Jeez, it was crazy. All I know is I had to stand in a garage and wait for a ticket to get a toy.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Three stories down inside of a maintenance garage is where they had us line up as they sent you up to you get a ticket, so then you could go and buy a $30 toy. I thought, this is nuts. There was no signage. I just stumbled across some guy who told me where it was. So it was funny. That wasn't too well designed for him, but that was probably the best they could do for that. But no, you're right, John. Setup's a big deal on a big show. On a smaller show, um, setup isn't. We all want, artist alley. Whether you're going as an artist alley, if you're going as a small publisher, you've got a location. You just never know where you're going to end up. Sometimes the back wall in the dark corner you think is going to be horrible ends up being the place. You don't know why. I can remember doing a show a couple years ago, and an artist I knew he was like, "Oh man, you ain't gonna believe where I am. Back in that back wall back there. It's dark. Nobody's gonna see us and everything." And at the end of that show, he's like, "That's the best show I've done all year." I was like, "Why?" And he goes, "I have no clue." It isn't like there was a big star or anything around me or anything, but it was the way the traffic flowed around us and everybody saw us. I'm like, well, see, you just never know. So, but you do have to have a cool display. And he had a very bright, cool display, so he was able to get their attention once they walked by. So, that's something you got to really consider is how much you're going to invest and what all you're going to do to get their attention once you do the show. If you're set up there as an artist or as a publisher or both, you got to have something to get their attention. What are you doing to get their attention? Yelling, screaming, trying to throw stuff at them really doesn't work.
No,
Chases them
actually,
away.
yeah, actually, and you annoy your neighbors.
Yeah.
And we know people that do that, and it's not something I'm particularly fond of. And I really, it may work in the short term,
Mm-hmm.
but in the long term, I really think you turn people off. Uh, but going with that too, something I really like about Heroes is that they mix people up.
Mm-hmm.
They put the big guys right next to the small guys.
Yep.
There's no section for superstars and section for the little guy with the Xerox comic.
Right.
They're right next to each other.
Yep.
And I really like that about Heroes, that it kind of evens the playing field.
Oh, I agree. I agree, and you'll have an Adam Hughes sitting right by some small press guy right around the corner
Yeah.
from him. So yeah, no, it really evens it up. It keeps the traffic flowing around. It keeps people moving around all over your hall, not just centralized in one area. So
And honestly, I've met some of the more interesting people at Heroes than some of the bigger shows.
it's a more intimate show.
Yeah.
I can't really explain why.
I don't know,
You
because
know?
it's kind of big.
Yeah,
Actually,
it
it's
is.
It's not a little bitty show.
No, not at all.
But it's very intimate and comfortable there. It is kind of hard to explain that, but I don't know if it's because everything is almost literally in one building. I mean, you go straight from the hotel into the into the convention center, um, and it very quickly becomes kind of a community. You see the same people, uh, you know, around everywhere
No,
at night.
that's something
Yep.
we need to talk about. Is that we brought that up? Is that you sort of get the group of people who travels to most of these shows or some of these shows. So you start to know people. If you go from one
Right.
show to another show to another show, I'm sure you guys are sort of grouped in with the podcast groups. I'm
Yeah,
sure there's
true.
other people doing the podcast that you see at all the different shows, at most of the different shows. You do the same thing with the small press area or the artist alleys. I have friends that I only see hanging out at the artist alleys. Um, that's when we hang out for the year.
Yeah, that's pretty much true. I mean, we see the guys from Comic Geek Speak, Indie Spinner Rack,
Hmm.
those podcasts, and we also get kind of grouped around folks like Kirby Crackle,
Right.
the musicians. You know, so we're usually in the same spot with them a lot of the times too. So
Right.
we kind of end up creating this little group, and we all end up at the same restaurants, we all end up at the same bars.
Hmm.
So it's usually a very insular experience, I guess.
Right. So how are we going to drag Bill in this conversation? Bill,
Let's make him talk about a con experience.
how about the last
Um,
Chicago? You hadn't done one in how many years before then?
11.
Okay. So
Yeah.
what was your feelings that weekend? What was different? What was different? What was your experience? And then on the flip side, truthfully we did horrible at that show. Because I was not prepared to really sit behind a table at that show. So we had nothing. So let's talk about what we didn't do that we should have done on that show.
Well, I think for us, where we were, I think we should have had a sketch magazine cover. I think that would have gotten us a lot more stopping and talking, and more than we did. I mean, we talked to several people, but I noticed that just walking around the show and talking to people once they realized who I was, and Sketch Magazine, they saw that it really was like a rock star being, and that was a far cry from 11 years ago. So I mean, I had a good time.
Well, the cool thing about that show was that the board was there. Afterburn Media.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So John was there.
Yep.
And we got to see a lot of people we'd never saw in person before.
Yeah, several of the guys we did who had done interviews, like Joe Linsner and I got to talk to Billy Tucci.
Who doesn't talk to Billy?
That's true. I mean,
well, I mean, and that's another one and some of these conversations in person, it spans a gap of, I'd seen him at Mid Ohio Con years ago, and then to see him in Chicago, which is, I mean, he's still doing awesome comics. So now it's more like I can talk. I have we both know Bo, and that's something you could always talk about. Knowing Bo Smith.
But what did you see a big difference from 11 years ago to, what was it, 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
It didn't seem as busy, really.
Really?
To me. Yeah, it used to be. The first Chicago Con I went to was out in Rosemont, and that thing was busy. That was 20 years ago, I guess, and that was kind of like a power bar worth of con right there. But and the years after that, because I did several in a row, I don't think I missed any for several years. So it was still, there's still a lot of people, but there were a lot of creators there too. A lot more artist alley access, really, like where we were, and I don't know. I mean, the creators still are just as cool as they were back in the day. So
right.
It's just a different set. Some are, they're so young, but they're so talented. Some of them, and then some of them have just been around. They know everything because they've been through it all. So it was pretty cool. And as far as my convention schedule goes, I'll be at Derby City Con.
Okay.
And that's my list.
That's it this year, huh?
That's the whole list.
Yep. I just don't travel.
I know.
Sorry, but it holds no interest for me.
We'll get you out to a few more. Maybe not this year, but I just found out I got a wedding on Derby City Con.
Oh no.
Yes. So
not mine.
No. So we had planned on being there, Mike and I, taking a few tables, but I think I'm gonna sit it out and just do this wedding up here. So
yeah, I think there's a few other people that will be going that are also going to be part of the wedding.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's going to be a bit of they're either going to be extremely well dressed at the show.
Yes.
Or there'll be some quick changing and driving back up in a hurry.
Yeah, problem is it's about 2.5 hours drive back up because the wedding's up in Ohio, on the other side of Cincinnati, and that's why I keep telling them, guys, you're talking 2.5, almost 3 hour drive.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think I'm going to call it this year. Like I said, my first one is C2E2, and I'm pretty sure we'll do Charlotte and Mid Ohio cons. I do not have the list. I'm not as motivated as Chuck is to get organized yet, but I will.
Yeah.
And so we'll see. But we're gonna be at a lot of shows. I feel like talking about shows. It's for me because of Blue Line. I probably look at shows a lot differently than other people now. Because I can't really say I go in as a creator. Even though I want to, this is my goal for next year is to set up strictly as a creator next year, with Skystorm and everything.
In 2012, you mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, most of this year is going to be. I mean, yeah, we're going to do Skystorm at Comic Related, but really that's probably going to be as much Clay's Way set up as truly Skystorm, because it's what I'm going to have in merchandise and stuff that's current. So, but from 2012, we're hoping to have all the digital releases and everything cranking by then, and so it's going to be a different beast. And I'm just wondering what this whole digital community's, this new digital outlets going to do to conventions? Is it going to bring in more creators wanting to get out promoting their stuff like web comics, because it's the one way you get out there and reach a readership? Or is it going to diminish it and let social medias carry it? So we'll see. San Diego, it sold out in what, a day?
Well, considering how many times they had to restart the computer, but yeah, essentially a day.
Yeah. Yeah, sold out 4 weekend show in a day. That's just incredible. But they're gonna have to fix it because it's the same thing as what was that? What's the electronic show? E3.
Oh yeah,
They end up having to bust it apart and make it, part of it vendors only, no outside people. Um, you can't sell out a comic convention in a day, a weekend, and it's going to lose its mojo. Yeah, they're going to be busy that weekend, but now next year it's like, well, screw it. I couldn't get in last year. I'm not going to try this year.
Right.
Why would I plan my vacation time around that or something? So, yeah, they're going to have to do something. I saw somewhere on Facebook some people was talking about trying to find a little hotel across the road from the convention center and do a signing in there for those who couldn't get tickets to San Diego. Right. I thought that was
a non-con or something like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's pretty cool. But San Diego's an unbelievable show. It's just.
Yeah, I think if you're a small creator, don't start with San Diego.
Not unless you live in that area.
If you live in the area, fine. But even if you can get in, don't.
Mm-hmm.
I think not only will it scare most people just from the sheer size of it, but you're competing with TV and
Hollywood.
You're competing with God knows how many things there. Every big game company on the planet. You're competing with half-naked girls. You're competing with a whole lot of stuff that is at other shows, but nowhere in the intensity and the amount that it's going to be at San Diego. So
my San Diego stories are, one year I went there and I got stuck in an aisle, in the middle of an aisle, and when you have freight flight in, let me tell you, it is expensive.
Oh heck
and,
yeah!
It was $500 for them to sign for my skid. That was the fee. $500 fee for them to sign and take my skid off the truck and wherever they put it while they were waiting for us to set up.
Right.
$500. So I mean, right there is like, wow. So you got to find ways around that.
Yeah.
And so then you don't want to ship anything back at that kind of price.
Right.
So the next year we did it. We shipped just a minimum amount of stuff. We shipped it as small as we could. I took a bunch of stuff with me. I had stuff shipped to the hotel, everything. But I was like, we're not going to ship anything back. And it's funny because earlier you mentioned something about bathrooms, and I always think about San Diego. We had 4 tables, and we were at the end of a row, and I had Paul Sizer with me, and we were right across from the bathrooms. Mm-hmm. Everybody's got to use the bathroom at a show sometime.
Oh heck yeah!
We sold out in a day and a half.
Nice.
So on the second day, I just looked at Paul Sizer and says, all these tables are yours. I'm going to go hang with everybody. I spent the day over in IDW and just walk around, sitting around talking to friends and stuff. And, Paul had all the tables to himself, handing out our only thing I left over was catalogs. So
right.
That sort of defeated the purpose of being there 4 days too. But yeah, we made our money and went on. So yeah, actually sometimes sitting up across from the bathroom can be a good thing because people will see you.
Yeah.
So, but San Diego can be very, very, very expensive. I just don't know how you truly make money at the show. I think most publishers look at it as a major write-off. They're looking at it as, and they are investing thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars at these shows. So, you got to be careful on what you're going to spend. Probably the only way
Right.
I would do artist San Diego's if I could get in with the web comics or through an artist alley. I just would not bother to take Blue Line. It's too expensive. Which reminds me of the money thing. Mike just informed me today that C2E2
Yes.
are $1,000 or whatever it is for a booth. It might be more than
Mm-hmm.
that. I'm not too sure. It is a booth. Strictly a
Um,
booth. No tables, no chairs. You get a 10 by 10 space for that money.
hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that must be something they changed from last year
So,
because.
and then if you want tables and chairs, you have to go through and order those, and it's all extra.
Oh yeah, because tables and chairs are actually the purview of the location.
The venue. Yeah.
Yeah, we actually ran into a little table issue last year,
Hmm.
which I won't discuss because yeah, it was a mess though.
Yeah.
Um,
So, yeah, you gotta make sure you take tables and chairs with you, or you're gonna be paying even extra for those. And that's unusual. And the reason I bring it up, that's unusual for a comic convention. Usually, a comic
yes.
convention, you get an 8 foot, you get a 10 foot booth or 8 foot booth, whatever. You get a table and 2 chairs. Some reason C2E2, the Read Expo guys, they're not doing that, and I really don't. I I, I
Yeah, I
don't
don't get
like it.
that. I think that's going to bite them.
Eventually, they're running they run shows like library shows, and
Yeah.
I just think they're used to doing big vendor shows,
Right.
and big vendors spending big bucks. Well, the small artists and small publishers, they need it as affordable as possible. And let's get real. The only reason the Read Expo people looks at conventions because they knew the economy was going in the crapper. They
Uh-huh.
needed more shows to pay their wages and get involved, so they jumped into this market because they know these people will spend the money. They will come to the shows, but they need to adapt a little bit more into their setups. Because if I'm not mistaken, they did the exact same thing up in New York the first year or two. When you got a booth, you got a 10 by 10 booth, period. I think it's $100 for a table, and I think it's $50 for a chair to rent them for 3 days.
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, and they say Blue Line will be taking its own chairs and tables and whatever.
Right. Although that might have been what happened to one guy at C2E2, or he may have planned this all along. But there was one guy set up there. He actually set up what looked like a living room.
Oh, yeah?
He had 2 chairs and a coffee table. His books were on the coffee table.
Well, that's cool.
And, he had standees and stuff around to advertise stuff. But, yeah, I thought it was kind of an ingenious setup. And then one poor guy who couldn't get his table for some reason, he set up all his crap on the floor.
Really?
Yes, he did. There was some snafu with this one dude getting his table till well into the first day. He had all his stuff set up on the floor. He was sitting on the floor, cross-legged, his sketchbook in his lap, sitting there sketching away.
I would be majorly upset.
Oh, I'm sure he was at some point, but
Yeah.
he seemed perfectly fine with it. People were crouching down looking at his stuff. So,
Wow.
I guess the novelty of him being on the floor
Hmm.
drew a few people.
That's cool.
Well, technically, technically we're a creator podcast, but
Mhm.
should we get into the thing of warning people what they should and shouldn't do at cons? Kind of do's and don'ts at a convention.
Are you talking about the person attending or the person setting up?
Well, we could do person attending first, and then
Okay.
person setting up, maybe. And I think we've all written about this at one time or another. I know I put out a little booklet years ago. I think Bill has done at least one article on
Hmm.
convention attending. And maybe you should probably run with that, Bill, since
Well, I think the article you're talking about, maybe Chris Warner sent me the one that Dark Horse uses, or I think they posted it on their site, maybe.
right.
But uh, some of the things are, be respectful of other people, whether it's creators and other people, other fans. Uh, be prepared if you are in a portfolio line, which that's probably a big thing, a big change from the Chicago that we were talking about earlier to before, because before you had more portfolio reviews and the opportunity to show your work off, and I didn't see that as much.
Right.
Actually, I hardly saw that at all. I saw more signings and stuff with
I think
talent.
I think they do more lotteries now. They only hand
Yeah.
out so many tickets for reviews.
So that was a change, but I mean, really, the I think was it this last year that at San Diego somebody stabbed somebody or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, don't stab anybody.
Yeah.
Okay, that should be rule number one. Don't hurt somebody else. If you do, you're a fool.
And you get arrested by San Diego police.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just stupid.
Yeah,
So,
I think it was
don't
over
be
a
stupid.
chair too.
Yeah, don't be retarded.
Like, you took my chair, so I'll stab you.
But I mean, I've been around shows where, you know, guys are or well, mostly it's guys really, but not they're. I don't want to say they're pissed, but they don't know when to leave sometimes. And especially the bigger talents or something. And I remember one situation with John Byrne, and some guy wanted him to sign a sketchbook, but John Byrne had not drawn anything in the sketchbook, but the guy still wanted him to sign it. So finally, John Byrne signed it. Said, "I did not draw anything here, John Byrne." So,
Nice.
But that was, convention fun talk fodder for a while, especially with me and Mark Hester. That was in Ohio Con. That was when it was up, whatever that city is up north.
Mansfield.
It was above Mansfield that one year. Or no.
Mid Ohio Con was always in Mansfield. But
it was Columbus. Maybe it was another show. That's a show I saw Jason Pearson at.
Right.
I don't know. I have to ask Mark. But I don't know. Really, your attitude has to be, whether it's positive attitude about just being there and being glad that you're there, and having a plan. Know what you're going for. Whether it's if you're going to talk to other creators or show your stuff off, or see other people's work, especially books that you follow or creators that you follow or companies you follow. Know what you're going for, and don't be a pest. That's hard to be, hard to determine if you're that person. It's not me. I'm not doing anything. But and I'm sure that guy didn't think he was. He was just a huge fan of John Burns. But that really is the biggest thing. Go with a positive attitude and know what you're going for, and don't stab anybody. And scene, because I had nothing else on that.
Do you have anything, Bob?
Not really.
Not really?
No.
Well, my thing, if you're a person, not if you're a creator or anything, for God's sakes, bathe.
John.
I hate to, attack the obvious, but nobody likes the stinky guy at a convention, and sadly, there are people who are quite pungent. So, bathe. Find someplace to bathe. I don't care if you're sleeping in your car. Make a friend and bathe. Wearing comfortable shoes.
Yes.
You're going to be walking a lot. So, you may really dig your Gene Simmons demon boots, but how many hours are you going to be able to wear those things? So definitely, be smart, wear shoes that are easy and comfortable to walk in. if you're planning to get a bunch of stuff signed, bring pens.
Mhm.
Don't expect the artist to necessarily have a pen every time. They probably will, but it's just kind of courtesy for you to have a pen too, just in case. Especially if they have a dark cover or something that you want signed. It's up to you to bring the silver gel pen or whatever you want it signed with. Don't just assume they're going to have one. Of course, we said we talked about bathrooms, so be careful how much you bring or drink, uh, because after a while, bathrooms tend to become toxic waste dumps.
Yes.
So you might want to curb your big gulp Mountain Dew addiction for the thing of the con. And the last thing I tell everybody is bring a bag.
Yes.
Bring a shoulder bag, bring a backpack, buy some company's thing at the show. Our friends at Ringtail Cafe have really lovely bags that they will be glad to sell you at the convention. But bring a bag to bring all your stuff. Trying to carry stuff around, trying to carry all your acquisitions and cards and posters and buttons and freebies and stuff like that. Um, you definitely need to have some place to carry that. And after a while, you're just going to start dropping stuff all over the floor. So bring a bag to stuff all that in. And if it's a multi-day con, empty the bag in the hotel room every night.
Yep. Bring tubes for posters.
Yes, bring tubes for posters. If you have prints, especially if Blue Line is there, go buy those
Top loaders.
sleeves.
Mhm.
The top loaders is what they're called. Yeah, go buy a top loader.
You've invested money in those prints. You want to make sure you get them home safe.
Right, especially those that are from guys that you really love and only see maybe once a year. You definitely want to get that because nothing screws up a print more than getting rolled up and then squished in the bottom of a bag.
Yep.
After luckily didn't happen to me, but happened to a friend of mine. Bring cash because it's hard to find ATMs
With
at some of these cons
with money in
with
them.
money in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of them they may have money at the beginning of the day. By about noon, those ATMs are empty.
Yep.
So it's just kind of common sense stuff more than anything else. Just if you're a person walking around. Now, if you're an artist walking around, there's even more stuff. A lot of what Bill was saying, be polite. If you're planning to get your stuff looked at, there's a whole list of stuff that you should probably do, and that's probably more the purview of you guys, both being people who look at portfolios.
Well, definitely go with a plan on who you want to show your stuff to, but keep your mind open to who you might stumble across. I know most people aren't going to come to the show and think about showing a portfolio to Blue Line or Sketch, but Bill, they will, won't they?
Yeah.
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 You see a lot of them.
I mean, we had, especially that one year, we just had a line, and you handed it off to me and said, "Here, I can't do this," because you were selling paper and all the other stuff, and I was more than happy to do it. And that's another thing. For me, I usually have to take ibuprofen for body aches or whatever, headaches and stuff, and cough drops, because by the end of the day, I've talked myself hoarse. So later on, other people are drinking beer, I'll drink coffee or tea or something because I can't talk.
Right.
And my throat's so raw. So, but that's just me.
No, I think that probably happens to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's really dry in there. It's canned.
Mm-hmm.
It's that canned air essentially.
Right.
So by the end of the day, you're breathing like thrice recycled air. So yeah, it's definitely a thing. And if you're going to be spending all day at the con, it probably wouldn't even hurt to bring snacks. Because
Yeah, it's expensive to eat at a show.
Definitely, it's really expensive to eat at a show.
$4 ice cream cones.
Yeah, exactly. And even if it's some of those places just outside the show, like if you get into some of those shows that kind of have little malls in the building with them, even those places aren't exactly cheap.
No.
So keep it in mind, if. But one thing about snacks, for God's sakes, don't be stupid enough to eat something that leaves residue on your fingers. Cheetos, hot fries, stuff like that. If you touch that, Action Comics #1 with your Cheeto fingers, you just bought that.
If they can touch an Action Comic #1, I would be impressed.
Well,
it's not slabbed.
Yeah, but yeah. even if you touch one in, slabbed or something like that, they'll probably still make you buy it.
Yeah.
So, have a brain and, eat something light and clean.
Right. I guess the big thing is, even at a show in the wintertime, wear light clothes. I mean, you gotta get it's hot. I mean, I usually take an extra shirt or two, because especially on setup days, because here we are, we're carrying in, we're sitting up a lot of times the day that we're going to work the show. So you've just busted in and out, in and out, in and out, getting everything in. Then you get it all set up. You're tired, you're sweaty, so it's time to check out the bathroom, change shirts, freshen up a little bit before the show starts. So definitely think about that.
Yeah, I kind of naturally dress in layers anyway, but that's a really smart idea, is to have a t-shirt and an overshirt, and if it's cold outside, maybe a little jacket or something like that. But make it stuff you can either shove in a bag or tie around your waist, or whatever, what have you, or carry over your shoulder or something like that. Because you walk around for a while, I don't care what it's like outside, they're gonna jack up the heat in there. Anyway, so
it's gonna be warm. Wow, we just talked an hour about conventions.
There we go.
We really never discussed about setting up your table or anything like that. I think we've done a little bit about in the past about that.
That could be a good one for next week.
Okay. So this one,
we already have the topic.
Really about attending. Right. We have an email, but do we want to go ahead and save it for the next one?
Yeah, let's save it.
Okay. Well, I didn't mean to cut you off, John. Was you?
No, that was fine.
Okay. Do you want to catch us up on what's been happening over at sketch@comicrelated.com?
I can do that. I'll try to be a little quick here. The most recent one being using the Copic blender. I know the idea of the blender is a little alien to some people.
Because what is a blender? It's a clear liquid, correct?
Right. It's a clear liquid that allows you to create certain effects with your Copic markers. Allows you to blend colors, allows you to lighten or darken colors depending. Just allows you to do things that you wouldn't normally think that you could do with what technically is a marking pen. So it's a little mysterious to some people. So I found a fairly good short tutorial with several tips and tricks on using the Copic blender. After that, I found, now most of this is done by computers now, but I'm one of those people that thinks it never hurts to know how to do stuff by hand, even if you never have to do it, because there could be that one time where you have to do it. So I found a little tutorial on the actual drawing of speech and thought balloons. Now, it is a little juvenile. I'll put that out there. I think it's geared towards younger children, but the thing is still sound.
Right.
So go check that out. then I found, we've mentioned it several times before how much we all love Jeff Smith and Bone. And I found a nice short tutorial that he did for the people at Scholastics. I think it's part of the package of them putting out all the Bone books through Scholastics now, which has managed to get them all into libraries and bookstores and things like that. So there's a short, sweet little thing of him drawing Bone and explaining his process, and then they switch over to Steve Hammaker, the colorist of pretty much everything Jeff Smith does, and he does a little thing about coloring. And then, as a companion video to that, a video I've run before, an interview that was done by the guys at iFanboy. That's a longer video, so go check those out. Those are something good to watch together. After that, and it's kind of apropos to stuff I've been doing at school, we've been drawing faces a lot lately. So I found this thing on drawing the nose. And I think that's usually something that some comic creators kind of mess up on or don't take the time to really think about. They'll try to fake it out with a couple of dots or one line or, whatever. And sometimes they can get away with it, but a lot of times it just ends up looking bad.
Right.
Rushed, and it's messing up the nose is a good way to mess up the entire drawing. So something to think about. Also, something to keep in mind is perspective when you're drawing anything, especially when you're drawing people. If you're drawing a crowd scene, which any comic artist worth his salt should be able to draw a crowd of people. Just standing around or looking up at the hero, that sort of look up in the sky scene. So there's a nice tutorial here on drawing in perspective. Beyond that, 6 videos, which make up one J. Scott Campbell interview. It's another YouTube thing where they divided them up strangely, but it's a really good interview. Kind of an interview and contest set of videos that he did with the guy running the show. So it's pretty cool. Check it out. All together about, I think, just under an hour worth of video. So go check that out. Cool. I kind of enjoyed it. And let's see, I quickly scrolled mistakenly. And then right after that, there is Neil Adams. And if you don't know who Neil Adams is, shame on you. Get out and, read your comics history. Mm-hmm. He talks about art and philosophy and how he is really impressed by the current state of comics and where comics are going. So you have someone who's most definitely old school. As I say in the little blurb here, his Batman is my Batman. That's the Batman that I really knew and grew up, was part of. And he's really waxing very interested about the current state of comics and talks briefly about digital and stuff like that. And then after that, there's just under 20-minute and strangely silent video of him drawing Batman. But it's, it's well worth watching the video because any chance you get to see a living legend at work is a good one.
Oh, yeah.
So that's pretty much catching us up for the week.
Awesome. Bill, I hear we have a winner.
Yes, we do. The Despicable Me DVD contest, the winner, who drew Dr. Doom doing something heroic, being a crossing guard, was Fred Lang.
All right.
That's the name he goes by, but his full name's Fred Lang Hennig. Very awesome young. Well, it's not a young man; he's younger than me, but he's going to put. I predict he will be busy. So I tell you now, go check out his stuff and check out all the entries because there's creative ideas, and the next contest will be an inking contest.
Now that's at the community board on Comic Related.
Right.
Sketch Magazine, correct?
Right.
Just let them know, in case we have some newbies.
Good point, because that's what I would usually tell you.
I know.
So.
So yeah, next one's going to be inking. We're going to put the download on the sketchmagazine.net site. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah. It'll be an Andy Smith. I think it's is it X Factor or X Force page.
Okay. From
Oh,
Andy.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can't remember which,
Cool.
but I know it's in my where he emailed it to me. So.
And what's been going over at the Comics Mentor?
Mostly just encouragement stuff. I've had some people respond back to some things that I had posted. Trying to pull up the list, but it's not quite. Well, now it is. Taking a sweet time flipping over between windows, but mainly it's just like we were talking about with conventions. Make your plan about what you're going to do, not only with your convention activities, but with your comics activities or with anything else that this happens with. Because I know from personal experience that things can tend to overwhelm you. So if you can sort of compartmentalize things and get put them into bite-sized chunks, then sometimes it's like chicken nuggets. Before you know it, you've eaten a whole 20-pack. I don't know that from personal experience, but it can be done.
I was about to say, dude, a lot of chicken nuggets in one sitting.
I'll get the 6-piece if I do, but now you get 50.
Yeah.
So
That's
a family size, not a single serving.
I think Clay would believe it's single serving.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. But it's time to go is one of the topics, and that's anytime that you're ready to make a push, that's the time to go. So get started now.
Right.
So there you go.
Cool. Let's see. Me, Clay's Way. We're wrapping up a storyline this Friday. There's been a 6-parter where we introduced the new character. Last week I sort of mentioned that the story needed a wrap up. That's these 2 strips that are running this week. It didn't really wrap up the way cleanly because of the narrative that I did throughout the strip. The funny thing is that my wife saw Monday strip, and this is the difference between, I guess, a comic fan and a non-comic fan, and it's something I got to take in consideration when I'm writing. She didn't realize that he had been standing there through all these strips telling this story to the Candyman.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't realize that the narrative was directing the story all the way up to him standing in line with the ice cream cone on his chest, telling the Candyman why the girl did it, and that, of course, the writer in me says, well, there's no narrative balloons now. There's none of this, da-da-da. And she just didn't grasp that. So I've got to be careful, and I got to realize that I'm going to be hopefully bringing in new readers who don't normally read strips because of our subject matter with Clay's with ADHD and dyslexia. So I have to be careful on how I set this kind of stuff up and keep it open-minded. Make sure somehow we are directing people through so they enjoy the story.
Mm-hmm.
So, and once I explained it to her and I showed her underneath, I did put a little sentence under there to help tell people that that's what's been going on. She caught it. So.
Yeah, that is a good point.
Yeah.
Now you've got to kind of hold the reader's hand at least at first to get. And you always have to assume that this strip is the first strip anyone ever sees.
I think you can get caught into, and that's probably something we need to talk about. I think you can get caught into, oh well, this is our 40th strip, so no.
Right.
This can be anybody's first time 5 minutes ago.
Right.
And this could be their first strip because this is the one that's live on the front of the site. They have to go digging to find the other ones. You do have to be careful and conscious of that. It made me think of it. My first response was, "You've been married to me 25 years." The strip's been fun. So I've had a lot of blasts with it. I've been working, and myself, I've been working on some Blue Line stuff, behind the scenes stuff, and stuff like that. So still working on a Kickstarter project. We'll let people know about that as it develops. That's really it. So, John, how can they reach you?
I can always be reached at john@sketchmagazine.net or john@comicrelated.com.
Hey, Bill.
You can send me an email at comicsmentor@gmail.com or find me on the Comic Related Community Forum board.
You can reach me at bobh@bluelinepro.com, or you can reach all of us at podcast@sketchmagazine.net. If you got any suggestions or ideas or comments about what we did or anything, please send them. We'll all read them and talk about them and hopefully cover the subject. Thanks, guys.
Okay,
Thanks.
we'll see you.
Take care.